Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. Got Jordan Kitchens and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you're here with us. We're finishing our week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. And hopefully the rearview mirror is about to have your entire work week in it here over the next couple of hours. We'll get you to the finish line one way or another, and we got tons to do here on this Thursday. We're previewing LSU in Alabama. I've got my final projection for the Saints draft. Maybe my final wish list is better. I'll be long gone for the week, so we'll talk about that in the next segment. Joe Healy from SEC Extra on D1 Baseball is going to join us in this at 2 o'clock today. Chris Blair, who will be at the box this evening, will chat with us, and I had a good sit as well. Lots and lots and lots to do. Let's start the way we start every show with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
I'll be blunt. This is a really important weekend for LSU. They all are. And next week, you'll talk about Tennessee, and that's a huge weekend. And the following weekend is Texas A&M on the road. That's a tough weekend. Then you've got Arkansas coming in here, who's as good as anybody in the country. That's a huge weekend. And the next weekend is the last weekend of the season, which clearly is a huge weekend. So they all are. That'll begin to be redundant, but I'll give you the reason why this is a big weekend. League play. You went on the road against a middling, I would call it, Auburn team. Auburn's not bad. Auburn baseball, and if Auburn's in Omaha this year, I won't think twice about it, because this league is so much different than every other league. It's just not even close. So that's just part of hands full in some way, shape, or form. But Auburn, so you've let up a little bit of that with Tennessee coming here, going to Texas A&M the way that they're hitting the baseball right now, and Arkansas coming here. None. Every single game in that 9-game stretch is going to be a very difficult one to win. You need to take care of your business on your home field against a slumping Alabama team. It is a big, big weekend. And need is probably too strong. It behooves LSU to win at least 2 games this weekend. How's that? Now, let me tell you about Alabama. It's a 30-8 team. They're 8-7 in league play. They opened SEC play by sweeping Alabama. In the second weekend, they took down Tennessee in game 1 of that 3-game series. And at that point, they're 4-0, having played the preseason number 1 and at that point a top 5 team in Tennessee. So you're thinking, well, this is a really good team. Well, since then, they're 4-7. They lost the last 2 games to Tennessee. They lost 2 out of 3 on their home field to Oklahoma. They won 2 out of 3 on their home field against Oklahoma. They lost 2 out of 3 at Auburn, and they lost 2 out of 3 on their home field against Mississippi State. And their offense has been scuffling. This is a team that in 3 games at Auburn scored 5, 6, and 0. And then against Mississippi State scored 3, 4, and 2. Over those 6 games, they're averaging 3.3 runs per game. Their offense is not swinging the bats. Well, I gave you these stats yesterday in my SEC Baseball Power Rankings, but right now, Alabama in league games only, so in 15 league games, they're 15th in the league in batting average, 15th in the league in home runs, 14th in the league in steals. So you're not getting a lot of hits, you're not hitting for power, and you're not creating runs by stealing bases. They are in a little bit of a funk offensively. Now, that doesn't necessarily apply to Justin LeBron. You've probably heard me talk about him. He is their shortstop. This is my belief. I can't back it up. It's my belief that if you allowed the MLB teams to draft one player out of the Southeastern Conference this year, as is. Now, LeBron's not eligible for this coming draft. He's not until next year. But if you let him draft anybody, Jace Laviolette is in that discussion. Liam Doyle is in that discussion. Like, there are some other guys. You can certainly look at Kyson Witherspoon. There are other guys in this league that are excellent players. I think that Justin LeBron is the most draftable prospect in this conference. He is sensational. He's in the top 5 in the nation in RBI and their meeting room, either yesterday, today, whenever they do that, his name's going to be circled. There is no reason to let Justin LeBron drive in 3 or 4 runs in a single game. There's just not. And walk him. He's not Jack Caglione, okay? He's not Charlie Condon from last year. So he doesn't need the Barry Bonds treatment, but you've got to be reasonable with LeBron. There are some teams that have not, and it has cost them dearly. Auburn pitched to him with a lead in won that game. I'm not going not the guy who might be the first pick in the draft next year. End of discussion. If Tommy White or Dylan Cruz or Jack Caglione or have one of those. They've got a good top of the order. It's not like they're a one-man show. They don't have another superstar. So, LeBron massively impact a game. You're up, and he pumps one in the gap, and now you're up 3. Inning to make the swing. Okay, pitching. Alabama is going to do things a little bit differently. Saturday, 2, their ace has been atrocious for 2 weeks. So here's what they're going to do this weekend. Tonight, they're throwing Tyler Fay. He has not been starting games for Alabama. He has 1 start in his college career. Okay? He's a 6'5" redshirt sophomore right-hander. His first start week against of the year. He's been a 1-inning to 2-inning guy. They stretched him out to 3 innings this past week. He is on short rest. He's not going 7 tonight. He's got a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. He throws a ton of sliders. Need to execute. If they didn't execute against some mediocre arms from Auburn last week, what Alabama does from a bullpen perspective. But they're pitching off tonight with the bullpen guy. In Game 2, they're pitching the same guy who was pitched in Game 2s. They're not moving their Game 1 guy. You'll see Riley Quick. Riley Quick is the best pitcher on this Alabama team. Miles an hour. He's got a good slider that's 88 miles an hour. He'll throw a changeup at 87. He's a year off Tommy John. Had that a year ago. He had a blister earlier this year that cost him a start against Oklahoma. He was very good. He threw 5 1/3 innings, 6 hits, only 1 run. It was earned. He struck out 7 and did not walk anybody. So Riley Quick, huge arm. You're going to see him tomorrow. He had a really good weekend last weekend. Now, the 2 prior to that were not very good. He started against Tennessee and all 7 walks in 6 total innings. So the command was an issue. The radar gun, projectability, the whole thing. Alabama's most talented guy is going in the second game against Anthony. Today, you'll see 2 guys who have some talent who are desperately searching to get some guys out. You know the story with Chase Shores to this point with LSU. Zane Adams is struggling bad for Alabama. He's a talented dude. He's 6'4". He's left-handed. He throws 90 to 90. A lot of downward break to it. It's not a tight slider type deal. It's a big. Zane Adams, who has been at the front of Alabama's rotation all year long. In SEC play, he is 1-2 with an ERA of 8.57. Now listen to these numbers. 21 innings, 34 hits, 20 earned, and walked 6. Last week against Mississippi State, Zane Adams, game 1, 4 innings, 9 hits, 7 strikeouts. 4 against Mississippi State, go back to the Auburn start. 1 inning, runs, a walk, and no strikeouts. Total innings, 5 innings, 17 hits, and not been a good go for Zane Adams. He's at the back end of this thing for Alabama. Things than this. But teams are squaring him up in a big way. Alabama, they're pitching off with a bullpen. Game 2 against Anthony Ianson. They're throwing a guy that is reeling in a big, big way on Saturday against Chase. LSU is at home. LSU's got their 8 bullpen guys ready to rock and roll. Game tonight. Period. You need to get a lead. Tell Alabama, don't even bring me your premium bullpen arms in. Just give me. Take this thing on the chin, 13-2, and we'll see you with your talented guy tomorrow. And if you think 13-2, well, that's laughable. You're not going to beat somebody 13-2. How about the? But they have been outscored 23-3 in their last 2 Fridays and run ruled in both of those games. So LSU is a monster favorite. Kind of shake back a little bit. His line was bad last week. I thought he was okay. He looked strong. Gave up 1 big swing. Hung a breaking ball. Irish hits it off the wall for a triple. But in this game, they need him to be. And if you need to use, and you can get to the finish line with DJ Primo and Jacob, take care of their business tonight and then worry about the rest of the weekend and trying to figure that out. Huge favorites tonight. Got to get at least 2 out of 3 against Alabama. Brought to you every single week by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. I love getting out on the grill. I love a great steak. I love a great burger. If that rings a bell for some of the finest in the world. If the last time you went to your local place and you got a steak and you brought it home and you cooked it and went, don't let that happen again. Go to Sagrera Farms. There's a has mastered, and it is producing some of the finest farm, and check it out for yourself. Grass, finished on grain. You should look at this beef. The marbling is unbelievable. The quality is from Baton Rouge. It's Sagrera Farms. I want you to call Sean and go. Ribeyes, strips, ground beef, flank steak, all right there in your freezer from Sagrera Farms. Give Sean a call, 719-1723. That's 719-1723. It's Sagrera Farms. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every. Who do I want the Saints to take? I'm giving you my final pick next.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light.
Recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect 2644. That's 756-2644.
At Bayou Automotive, an easy purchase with clear pricing. Partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet. Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone to demand them. Here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. The law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm.
Gulf Coast time during this challenging event, and we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary. Work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the Wow. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
All right, Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team with us in about 12 minutes, breaking down the weekend. Most of the conference, 6 series, going to start tonight on weekend. So we'll have a chance to talk to Joe about last weekend, as well as some of the big series of the weekend. Of course, up to Fayetteville to see if they can kind of keep it rolling a little bit, or if this is a little bit of fool's gold with a bad South Carolina. The NFL draft is now inside a week away, and I will not be here next week. So this is my last opportunity to talk about the Saints draft, and I want to address to the round 1 selection. The first thing that I would like the Saints to do is not trade up. That's number 1. Need all your picks. So if you want to, I'm not going to ask for it, but that's number 1. And then number 2 is I've got a wish list my projection for the Saints pick, but I will rank them to take. And I understand that a couple of these, but I can be ambitious. I mean, the Saints should be ambitious at 9 with a player they could potentially get, and if that player comes off the board, you just go to the next. So I'm not trying to be delusional to suggest that my first pick here is certainly, but it's my dream scenario. Think so? You go to the next one on the list, and that's kind of where we are here. My number 1 pick for the Saints to take is Mason. I think he is a wonderful player. I think he's a wonderful fit. I think what he does, the Saints lack, that is play the run in the interior. Pick for the Saints. I think he has a lot of productive years ahead of him in the NFL, but he's a better pass rusher than he is holding the point of attack and making plays at the line of scrimmage against the run. Mason Graham is a space eater. He is a gap plugger. He is a monster in the middle. And the Saints need that. And I think if you pair him with Brian Brzee for the next strong interior defensive line, I think that's very, very important. I like Graham's story. Won a national championship, and now he's probably going to be a top 5 pick in this NFL draft, which is a dream scenario for New Orleans. The second one is going to make people here. I thought Will Campbell was brilliant at LSU, and I don't think that his arm length. But Armand Mimbo, to me, really looks like a great prospect out of Missouri. And I think he is making that selection and for him to be a plug-and-play left guard. You feel like left tackles taking. You're there at right guard, whether you like it or not. You may tell me that you think that Cesar Ruiz is a really good player. You may say your right guard. And then you got Penning, who is going to play his last year as a Saint this year. And ideally, you draft this player to play left guard and then potentially move him. And you plug a guard in there at some point. I like Mimbo as a prospect. I don't have any problem with Will Campbell at all, and I'm not trying to be controversial down here in South Louisiana. But that's number 2 on my list. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. I like him as a prospect. Number 3 on my list is Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker is an outside linebacker, pass rusher at Georgia. And he doesn't fit the profile that the Saints have often drafted. He's not 6'5". He's not 6'6". He's not of that mold. He's not of the Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, Isaiah Foskey mold. He's a little bit undersized, but he is a speed merchant off the edge and has the upside of being a nightmare off the edge. I think the body composition is probably a little bit closer to somebody like Von Miller, who doesn't have like the super long limbs but he's been a good SEC pass rusher, and that's not all he can do. He can play a little bit in space. I love his athleticism. I love his speed, and I love the fact that he's a little bit of a different wrinkle from what the Saints have gone with, and they're bringing in a different defense that is going to put more linebackers on the field. You need help at linebacker. You need a guy that can rush the passer off the edge and play a little bit in space. I think Jalen Walker is a great fit. And what I'm thinking is that there's not really anybody on the Saints roster that fits that mold right now. So we still haven't seen Brandon Staley's defense in practice in New Orleans. Comes in and makes it work. I like that pick. I like that fit. He's number 3 on my wish list. Number 4 on my wish list is Will Johnson. Production, high level in college, great program. Will Johnson's got a chance to be a star. You at one point had a defensive back room that looked really Sean Lattimore, and then Paulson Adebo got hurt, and now he's signed elsewhere, and you're McKinstry, we'll see. Like, That's young and kind of unproven. It's a passing league. You got Baker Mayfield slinging it around. Maybe Michael Penix is really good. Who knows what Bryce Young. And what went from a real strength of the Saints organization 12 months ago is no longer that big strength. And Will Jones a great fit for what the Saints need to do. Priority, Mason Graham, Armand Membo, Jalen Wall going to select with that pick. My projection of what I think the Saints do. I think the Saints take Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. 3 guys that I would like more than that. I'm not telling you can't take a quarterback. It sounds like they've cooled on Shedeur Sanders based on some reporting. Jeff Duncan. At this point, I'm not really believing anything anybody has to say about the draft because it's leverage time, it's smoke screens time. You can take a quarterback if you're convicted of him. I'm trying to. Those are my. To see. All right, Jordan, you've heard me give my spiel. Holes to fill. Do any of those sound?
Out. We're at this point like C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. Developed corners. They were pretty good at corner while he was there.
Yeah, DB. I'll just say DB in general. Like safety, well, Marcus May was a miss, but that's in a whole nother story. But tackle, fail, i.e. Will Campbell.
I'm okay with,
I'm okay with this guy too. But I just feel like turned off by quarterback, of course. I'm just like, we just have to find a way.
You need 4 starters. That's doable. It's hard, but it's doable.
4 starters, and the 5th guy needs to be, we can work with him this year.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You can't have a Peyton Turner this year.
Marcus Davenport.
You can't have that. So we ain't got to worry about a Davenport, but you just cannot miss.
Can't whiff.
Got to.
Sticking to it for the NFL draft. Saints on the clock 9th as of right now on Thursday coming up. All right.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Rouge.com. Just do me a favor. Just check out the website. Check out GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Just start perusing the inventory. Look at the sedans all the way up to the SUVs. They've got entry level. They've got the highest end model. If any of that piques your interest, you can do it, and you never have to set foot on the dealership to do it. Contact the good folks at Genesis of Baton Rouge and have them drive to you, whether it's at home, whether it's at your office. They'll come to you. You can get behind the wheel, go for a test drive. Their brand ambassadors are going to help you every step of the way, and there's a chance that when you go on that the dealership. They do delivery. They do e-contracts. Easy as can be. It's part of the experience being a Genesis driver. So start that process today online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Couldn't be any easier. They got an incredible selection of vehicles. And I can promise you this, if you get behind the wheel, you'll see the difference. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support with the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units. Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 644 for Gulf Coast office products.
Age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead... crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeons, orthopedics, and sports. A team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
We're halfway home. Looking for looking for a podcast, Highway to Hoover. That morning weekend waypoints. For the time, how are
you? Yeah, I can't really believe we're halfway.
In Athens last weekend for Arkansas. Very, very competitive. What'd you see?
Yeah, super fun series. One of those series where, Arkansas 2 one-run games. 12th inning, solo walk-off home run for Georgia. That's going to happen, especially in that ballpark. So 2 really good teams. I thought it was big for Georgia to defend its home. We probably would have to start having a conversation of, with those top teams in the SEC, but they won that series. They pitched it better. I liked a lot of what I saw. They're assumed they would be at this point a few weeks ago.
Auburn took it to LSU over the weekend. Tigers couldn't get the bats rolling. What'd you make of that 3-game sweep?
Yeah, Auburn's played freshmen haven't either yet or won't hit the freshman wall. We'll have to wait and see, but they're really holding that lineup up, and they're pitching like more than what Auburn has, but they're 6 or 7 deep with guys they really trust, and you combine that with the fact that clearly they found something in Sam Dutton. He's made some changes to the way he uses pitches. He's made changes to his curveball, which have been really effective. And then Cade Fisher was better last weekend and seems to be getting healthier. It was a lat issue earlier in the season. So you combine all that together, and they're trending to be maybe closer to a top 8 than they are to be a team that's not on the host line. We'll have to see. And then from the LSU perspective, it's another weekend where, you feel like maybe they left some runs on the table. And in this version of the SEC, it's not as offensive as it has been in years past. This isn't where you can just show up to the ballpark and if you barrel the ball up, you'll get the ball out of the yard. For whatever reason, home runs are down right now this year. So if you're LSU, you're going to have to figure out offense a little bit to a greater degree as you move forward to the SEC.
Yeah, only 17 conference home runs for LSU in 15 games. I would think that number trends up as the weather warms up a little bit. You don't play in icy Norman, Oklahoma for one of the weekends, but we'll see. It doesn't look like a lineup that has quite as much star power as the last two. And this weekend in with Texas A&M. I like the way that Mark Etheridge put it on Highway to Hoover. Said, I can't think of a more demoralizing. They got walked off and then got annihilated and then blew a monster lead. But A&M was on the winning end, and then you can kind of bring that into A&M Arkansas from Fayetteville this coming weekend.
Yeah, like they're doing a lot of things right. They're just not good enough. And then you just wonder if maybe that series ends up being a little bit of a straw that broke the camel's back, not for postseason the season and the bottom just kind of falls out of it. We'll have to see. From the A&M standpoint, they've got Arkansas this weekend, as you allude to. They've got Texas. They've got LSU. Then they have Missouri at home. So, 4 of the 5 best teams maybe in the SEC left ahead on their schedule. That's not. And Arkansas this weekend, I think what's notable for me is Gage Wood is finally healthy back on the mound. They put him in the rotation. Gabe Gackle is out. Maybe the rotation with Wood in it is better, and Gackle maybe can get back on track a little bit. We'll obviously have to see, but with that Arkansas lineup being as dangerous as it is, it has allowed Arkansas to tinker with its pitching staff a little. That wins the games, 4-2 along the way.
Yeah, LSU's going to see Arkansas in. Do you think Gackle is immediately a high leverage arm out of the bullpen for Arkansas? He's that talented, or do you think they're going to try to ease him back in, maybe some midweek stuff?
Like the latter, but I do think the idea has to be with his level of talent. The idea has to be he's a high leverage guy by the time we get to Hoover, one way or the other. So I do think there will be kind of put him in some situations where he should succeed, and then as he continues to get better, you put him in leverage spots because you do run the risk if you immediately make him a leverage guy. And maybe they will. If you immediately make him a leverage guy and it doesn't go well, a little bit of a build-up.
Is there any concern with Ryan Prager for you? Just not as sharp as he was at the end of last year.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's not even just like some of the numbers look fine, but for me, it's the home runs. I mean, and while it's been okay, it hasn't been what they need it to be. And his ERA in conference play is almost 7, as I just flipped over to check it out. He's going to have 10 home runs in about 30 innings in conference play. It's just not going to do it. And he's not a stuff guy. We know that. And so we knew his margins were thin. And, maybe it was just a situation where last season was him putting it all together and that coin. But you do wonder if maybe this is the other shoe dropping a little bit.
Number 8, Auburn at number 1, Texas this weekend. Keep the pedal to the metal here?
I do, but I will say Auburn is a tricky matchup for them because they do not strike out.
Nope.
And so they are going to foul a bunch of pitches off. They're going to make you work. And, Texas has found some things on the mound, so they're a little bit deeper than maybe I thought they were a couple weeks ago. But still, I think it still stands that the way you get to Texas and challenge them is to get those starters out early and often and force them to burn their good bullpen guys early. What you don't want in a situation as a team playing Texas is they can use Volantis and Grubbs and Flores or Riojas if he doesn't start on 3 separate days. You want them to have to burn a couple of those guys in the same game so you can get to some guys who aren't those guys in the Texas bullpen. If they're able to stay on script, I mean, their pitching is a run better in terms of ERA than anyone else in the SEC this season. And if they stay on script, you're kind of toast. You really do have to force them to go to someone else.
Let's talk LSU Alabama. That'll start tonight. Alabama's making a little shift with their rotation, which has not been very good the last 2 weeks. So your thoughts on Cade Anderson facing essentially a bullpen day for Alabama, and then more importantly, I think for this series, your thoughts on Riley Quick and Anthony Ianson tomorrow.
Yeah, I think on the Quick piece, that's going to be the pitching matchup of the weekend. Quick was really good last weekend, and for Alabama, I don't want to say it all comes down to that, but if you're not winning the Riley Quick start, if you're Alabama, the path to winning this series is really, really narrow, because I think the flip side for them is that I don't know what's happened to the offense, but they're not swinging it well right now. They've got Cade Snell has been pretty good. Justin LeBron has been good, but not necessarily the supernova that we saw the first 5-6 weeks of the season. And then a lot of really good stories from early this year, guys like Will Hodo and Garrett State. Lineup has some real depth. Like, they've slowed down to the point where they're not getting a lot from them. So Alabama needs to win the quick start, and then has to find a way to gum up one of the other games to where you. Honestly, considering the way we were talking about Alabama 3 or 4 weeks ago, that's not a great place to be for the Tide, but we'll see.
It's a huge weekend for LSU because the next 3 are Tennessee, which is in Baton Rouge, but it's still Tennessee. Then they go to win. If they lose this weekend after being swept last weekend, kind of feels like last year where that negative momentum started, and you just gotta stop that snowball at some point, no?
Yeah, I think that's right. You've got to take advantage of the series where you have get right. In this league, when you have teams that you're just flat out into those. So yeah, if LSU doesn't get it done here, it gets real sticky down the stretch.
We know Paul Mainieri from his time here, a long time here. I know Paul Mainieri very well. Certainly haven't talked to him since he's gone to Columbia, but I'm just curious what you think his emotional mental mindset is here at 2-13. Not a lot of 2-13s in his run in Baton Rouge, and now when you look at 2-13, like, you have to go fix that in the transfer portal.
They're in a really tough spot, and I'd love to say that this has been super surprising to me, but I'm not. It brings me no pleasure to say this, but I kind of felt like this. One or two people to really step up, but right now they don't have the NIL to really shop in the expensive aisles. I kind of agree that Paul Mainieri, in an industry that does human being that I think all things equal we want to see do well. So this has really been a tough season, and I don't think South Carolina is necessarily going to be in a situation where they're looking to move on right away, but you don't need this. And I thought maybe I could adapt to this current era. Decided to do something else. I don't know. I don't have that inside information, but if there's going to be a change, it's going to come on that end of the spectrum versus South Carolina deciding to move on.
Just it's an interesting spot. I'm curious to see how that goes. LSU will see South Carolina on the final weekend in Columbia. Joe, enjoy the baseball this weekend. We'll talk next week. Thanks.
All right, Hunt. See you, buddy.
As I mentioned there, I've had a great relationship with Paul since I covered him back in 2011. In the first game of the Jay Johnson era, we broadcast live from walk-ons. He came on for the first hour. Has always been very gracious with his time. I saw him a little bit. He was obviously thrilled for his players that in Paul's shoes and use kind of what I know about him. He had it going so good at LSU where you had good players in the pipeline all the time. You would develop relationships in recruiting, and they were just always good. And to start at the bottom, and they are just and to fix that, which he hasn't been recruiting the high school ranks for 3 years. You have to go to the transfer portal to fix this. And if you want really good players in the transfer portal, you have to go to the boosters and say, I need money now. And Dawn Staley's doing that, and Shane Beamer's doing that, and it's like, he's never done that before. And it just feels like a really bad situation. I'm not here to forecast what I think's going to happen, but it's a bad spot because they at the halfway point. I'll be generous and give them 4-11. That's 6-24. If I'm him, I'm sorry. 36 in this profession, you don't really have a choice if you want to be a college baseball coach. He doesn't need to be a college baseball. It's a bad spot for South Carolina and Coach McNary. I'm pulling for him as long as they're not playing LSU because I appreciate his time and appreciate what he did at LSU, but it's bad news there at Columbia right now. All right, a legend is retiring. We'll talk about it next.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer. Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With up to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you. DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac. Service your family.
For over 50 years.
These are the could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool. Looks like the lucky just got luckier.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
An announcement was made today by the folks at ESPN Public Relations that Lee Corso will broadcast one more time on College Game Day, the first week of the college football season, and he will retire. He'll be 90 years old. And I've got some thoughts on this. Corso is larger than life in college football. And for really my entire life, Lee Corso has been, and it's an breakdown of Michigan's offense against Michigan State's defense. I don't care that much about why USC is going to have success through the air against Oregon. That's a part of the show, but show to me personally is that it's fall when I know I'm going to have a great day. I know that student, I'll be with all my friends and be in the student section. I know as a young adult that I'm going to be inside Tiger Stadium with my buddies and we've got our tailgate. I know going to the swamp, and I know personally it's a big day, and that's what you doing, and the signification that it is that day changed over the years, like I just said, from me being, a 8 come to my own home in Baton Rouge, where I have kids, and it's part of our time together. That there's bacon cooking, there's eggs going, and it's going to be an awesome Saturday. And Lee Corso has been the face of that show forever. And the headgear pick and that, hey, we can kick off now. And yeah, Lee Corso over the last 10 years with the stroke, and I don't really care because he's part of the routine. He's part of the day and has been for almost 4 decades. And so I've still enjoyed him being on the set. And I still get a huge kick out of him calling the child a name he shouldn't have said on television and him dropping an F-bomb, throwing that megaphone. And the joy and jubilance that he's brought. What a mark to leave. I don't think he could have ever imagined after finishing coaching and going into TV, which I think a lot of coaches would say is like been kicked out of the game, that he would have such a show that has swept the nation. And so I'm glad he's going to be on one more. Puts on. How many times have you heard? Not necessarily probably the. How many times have you heard somebody ask, who'd Corso pick? Like, that's how. I don't ever hear anybody go, well, who'd Barkley pick in the playoffs? Who'd Corso pick? What a cool thing. He's leaving the television set. And that's a little bit sad, but I think it's very clearly an example of decades, and it's been an so very, very much a job well done. I'm thrilled he'll give it one more go. Ohio State hosts Texas in the opener, that's where they'll be. They could be at LSU Clemson. Those are really the two options. I think they'll be at the Shoe. But I'll be watching and a little bit sad when that thing ends. But coming up here in the first week of the college football season 2025. ESPN's College Game Day at the age of 90. Farms premium beefs, ribeyes, fillets, flanks, burgers all summer long. If you're in the market, Prairie Farms just 35 minutes north of Baton Rouge. They'll sell you sides and whole cows. You got to give my guy Sean a call, 7-1. Tell Sean Segura you heard about that beef on the Hunt Palmer Show, and you got to get your hands. Segura Farms, they bring you our Thursday shows. Tigerbait.com. That's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like Vans Custom. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are, you, Auctioner Andrews.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac. Service Chevrolet Cadillac. Our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Mistake. If you find yourself the law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the 31111, your law firm for a lifetime.
Savin Office Equipment Dealer, based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boot. Engineering, legal, and finance with the latest in office technology. Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-7 for Gulf Coast office products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Shams Charania reports Bucks guard Damian Lillard is now cleared from treatment for blood clots. He'll start ramping up for a return to the court. But Pacers. Charania also reports the Kings are finalizing a deal to hire Scott Perry as the team's new GM. He was most recently GM of the Knicks. The reigning champion game and a half behind the division-leading Padres. ESPN
on what happened at the end of last year, where they went short of beating the Dodgers in the playoffs. In fact, Dodger players said after the World Series is over that the toughest team that they faced along the way was San Diego.
15-4, best record in baseball. ESPN's Lee Corso will retire from College Game Day in late August. He'll celebrate.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Friday. With the draft less than a week away, I'll tell you what the headlines will be the morning after the first round. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. ESPN.
Beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Gotta say, it's feeling good. This is the last hour of the week. We're taking a week vacation next week. This is winding things down. I got a little senioritis setting in here for the final hour. So we're going to chat with some other people. Chris Blair in 15 minutes, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com joins us on Fridays. We're off tomorrow. Good enough to move up a day to Thursdays. Preston, thank you, sir. How are you?
Hey, Hunt. Thanks for fixing me in on a rare Thursday appearance.
Rare Thursday appearance. I mean, I used to go on Moscona's show every Friday in a previous life, and like, just good. Friday's always got good vibes. I'm not saying that Thursday's a bad day, but you know, this feels like a Friday, so you ought to feel good.
I'm your vibe guy, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right. All right, you were in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. I'll leave it open-ended for you, and then we'll dive in with whatever.
Open-ended, man. Isn't it sad that they didn't give these fans at least, you know, I'm one of the probably and you know, you're a football team. Your job is to entertain. Go entertain. You know, so while there's probably a lot of people who win the best, I don't think that doing a practice versus a more of a show-style scrimmage is going to result in losing a game or not next season. So that's probably my biggest takeaway. Coach Kelly in the post-practice presser, I asked him about game, and he basically as close to a direct answer as you're going to get out of him on something. Yes, he would prefer that. So that's my biggest takeaway, but we'll go big, mean, and nasty, and I don't know that this offensive line is up to the task yet of blocking anybody as good as LSU's defensive end.
I agree. It was one of my biggest takeaways from the day, and I actually thought the defense as a whole played pretty well. I thought they were pretty good in the red zone unless Juwan Johnson had the ball. And so I thought that was an encouraging thing. I mean, obviously every play, if one team does something really good, the other team had something bad happen to them. But I thought on the whole, the defense won the day, and
I believe it's probably been since 2018 the upper hand. Now, I'm not going to say that upper hand, and the last time I remember that would be 2018 when Joe Burrow was coming in and, you know, frankly, not learning. I don't know if you remember the spring game of 2018, but it was basically the biggest crap show and the biggest was about to be the starting quarterback based on what they saw.
Let's talk about Juwan Johnson. They showed a lot of him in the red zone. Brian Kelly talked about turning the cameras off before that. What'd you think?
I think both last year and what we saw during this spring, and the talent skill set that Juwan Johnson brings, I think he's earned himself a short yardage package. I mean, he's a full-bodied runner out there. He will lower a shoulder and run you over. He's also dynamic, and he's got speed. And, like Brian Kelly said, in these short yardage situations, he'll be able to throw the ball well enough in these short yards. It's usually a simple situation of, hey, look, they're going to be running man cover zero coverage. If that guy's open, throw it to him. If not, tuck it and run it. It's not like a complex full wide receiver tree he has to memorize. So I definitely think he's earned a spot situationally. And look, a situational red zone short yardage quarterback can certainly make a huge deal in your offense in terms of actually moving the change after your offense has been pretty good. You get 3 first downs and you get stopped on 3rd and 1, drive over. Well, all of a sudden this guy can really change the outlook of your entire game based on that. But then you have to wonder, is Juwan Johnson too talented to be used as basically a 2006 Tim Tebow?
And that's kind of what it looks like he is at this point right now. Speaking of usage, how much is Harlem Berry going to get in the fall?
A lot. And Brian Kelly addressed that in the post-practice presser. Whether he starts or not, that's not as big a deal. It's whether – I'll be interested to see who gets the second snap. In terms of being a complete back, blocking, being able to – complete player, but Harlem Berry looks sharp in a lot of ways. By the way, in the back end portion of practice where tackling was allowed, Caleb Johnson looked like a bruiser out there.
Yeah.
So it'll be a nice question to see who gets that second rep. Will it be Harlem Berry at times? Looks like your best back. I think he's definitely your best receiver. Now, Harlem Berry is not as fast as Caden Durham. At least but Harlem Berry looks he might be better at acceleration than he might get to top speed a little quicker than Caden Durham and can make a lot of plays happen for you. Look, I Dan's biggest early frustrations is how long it takes to get him on the field, because I think he's going to continue to flash excellence, but and break in as we saw with Caden Durham last year.
Yeah, I'm with you on Barry gliding. When you watch him and kind of cut through, and Brian Kelly talked about his natural running of the football, as he termed it. He's a joy to watch when he gets out in some space. Safety is among the biggest question marks when you talk to people about the team. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it probably is. Tamarcus Cooley makes you feel Taviano played a lot better. Maybe not so much in coverage skills. We've seen him struggle on one-on-ones. Tackles in the game. So that's certainly encouraging from that standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if they look into a player for this portal here. They might not, but if they did, they'd probably look for a safety. Overall, talking about ends being the biggest standout to me was how returning players got positions, right? And that is just consistently across the field, man. Leaned heavily on their returning players rather than the transfer guys. So I would they have enough bodies at corner, probably to even spare. Do one of those corners slide over and take reps? I mean, have you seen Mansur Delane's film? Do you play safety? Absolutely. Will have to do it and have to do it play well if they don't add a safety.
Last one here. You have any Michael?
That arm, man, he's got a rifle, but there's just other times where He'll sail. I think a lot of what you see with when he has a clean pocket and he can stand up tall and, on him, and he's got an accurate ball. He can make some impressive throws. What I'm starting to notice is in situations where he has his launch angle is not great. I mean, he has to throw over guys, which just inherently throws off his throw quite a bit. I think there's a reason why. It seemed like there was a trend maybe 5 years ago, like, oh, yeah, short guys can play in the NFL, and we're starting to see that really dial back now. And we're really starting to see, I see why most quarterbacks are 6'2" or higher, because it's easy to impact their throw. And I think that's a bit of what we're seeing with Van Buren. That being said, hey, look, arm talent's undeniable. And he will probably get a chance to compete with Colin Hurley to be the starter next year. But mind you, in this day and age of the transfer portal, it's going to be Colin Hurley versus Michael Van Buren versus whoever is the top name in the portal that year.
Yeah.
Because I know 2026 LSU does not have a quarterback yet. They're recruiting some guys, but it's really that 2027 class for LSU. The names out there are just elite for 2027. So you got to find a bridge to get you there.
Yeah, and they're out there in the transfer portal every single year. Preston, we appreciate some time. Thanks so much, man. Have a great weekend.
All right, talk to you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. All your LSU football coverage, all your recruiting. Preston and the team over there at TigerBait got you covered. Take a time out. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, talking LSU and Alabama this weekend. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? How about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance? How about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? All that is possible over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. When I say luxury vehicle, when you think luxury vehicles, you should think Genesis. And when you think luxury vehicles, don't automatically go, well, I'm priced out. You may not be. You won't know until you find out. You can start your process at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Go by the store. It's at Airline at PQ across from Women's Hospital. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. They're great. They will help you through the process from start to finish. You'll never feel like a customer. You'll never feel like you're getting upsold. You're never going to feel like there are people swarming you trying to get your commission. You'll feel like a guest. And at the end, you'll feel like you made the right decision. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find the entire inventory online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat. They've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for the play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend dedicated to getting you back in the game. Got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. The law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343.
Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. LSU and Alabama tonight, 7 o'clock at the box. You can listen over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, first pitch again at 7 o'clock. That means pregame. From high atop Alec Box Stadium, Skip Bourbon Field.
I'm great, man. Great. Ready to start another week.
This weekend needs some forgetting. Just one of those weekends just couldn't. Trading now.
Yeah, I mean, you could sense it. I mean, 17 ground outs. And that was kind of outs. It was the outfield. Stephen Milam had the one home. But again, when you look at it offensively, it was just, I think an outlier. I mean, based on what we had. It was averaging 8 or 9 runs a game, and just I told some people earlier, space line now with the renovations at Plainsman Park. But I will say Auburn did a very good job. Their starters as well as their relievers of just about every up, and again, there were a lot of strikes below the knees, and I think some of that along with I think kind of led the wrong angle here, and again Auburn was able to take care of it.
Yeah,
and I think you saw some guys that Jay's been saying for weeks and now going into months that we need these guys to step up. We need some some guys to join. And I think a handful of guys you saw over the weekend, game 1 and game 2, you saw again in the midweek this week, albeit against McNeese, but a very good team.
And Maverick Rizzi stands out there. He was dominant on Tuesday. What did you see from your vantage point?
Good, and from an offensive standpoint, they won 12 games in a row, and as Jay said, I think they're pretty much, unless the wheels fall off, going to be a at-large regional team. And it was good to see William Smith. I thought he pitched very well. I didn't know how long they were going to let him go. I had a sense they wanted to use a number of guys because, again, they're still trying to find those candidates that they can rely on the weekend. And there's still a part of me that thinks William's going to be part of the mix every weekend. But overall, I thought, the pitching staff did an excellent job. And again, it's those same names that we talked about. Connor Ware, Connor Benj, Jacob Myers, Maverick Rizzi. Myers is a guy that Jay tells time and time again, he's the only surefire candidate when you look at this team that with the skill set should be playing in a major league uniform in a couple of years. He's just got to work on his consistency. But I think, Jared Jones also set the tone offensively. I mean, a 2-run bomb after he struggled over the weekend with 1 base hit, 6 strikeouts. I thought he got it started, and everybody else kind of followed suit. And that's the kind of the LSU offense that I think we're all accustomed to. And frankly, it's the offense I think we'll see the majority of the final 5 weekends in SEC play.
Yeah, I went over LSU's SEC stats earlier this week on the show, and you got Jared Jones hitting 254 with 1 homer in league games. Stephen Milam's hitting 260 through 15 league games. I have a strong suspicion those two guys will not hit that over the last 15 league games, and you consider the fact that LSU's 10-5. That's a pretty good spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we said Monday night on Jay's show, or at least what I said. I mean, yeah, you hate coming off. And, I kind of likened it to showing up at Auburn last week. I mean, you look at Auburn going into the weekend, you're like, oh, wow, this is a 6-6, 500 team. And then you realize, well, they've won 3 of their first 4 series, but they got swept against a pretty good Georgia team. So, those numbers are a little deceiving that early in the SEC race. And when you look at what LSU has done, they're first in doubles in the SEC, I think, in so many different categories, both offensively and, from a pitching standpoint. You look at their record, you look at their wins. They play were on the road. Now, out of the final 5 weeks, 3 again against Tennessee. And then your road trips are a resurging Texas A&M team. And then you finish the year against South Carolina, who obviously has struggled. I mean, I don't think there's any team is in a very good spot where they are right now. And as I said, I have with those guys you mentioned, who we kind of have an inkling will get better. We're in fine shape. Everything's A-okay with LSU baseball.
And Cade Anderson's line was bad last week. I didn't think his outing was that bad. One ground ball doesn't get made, a play doesn't get made, and all of a sudden it looks a little bit worse. But your thoughts on Cade last week?
I mean, first off, I'll say again, the Auburn team coming in offensively, I thought was really their strong suit. I mean, I think their pitching staff was all right. Now, credit Samuel Dutton. I thought he pitched his fanny off in game 1 for good reason. Sometimes the emotion can go the opposite way, but it didn't for him for whatever reason. But offensively, I think Auburn's a very good team. I mean, they've got some really good guys. I mean, you talk about Ike Irish, a veteran player. Cooper McMurray seems like he's been playing for 8 years. And then those 3 freshmen they have, I think, are candidates for Freshman of the Year, along with Derek Curiel in Rembert, Terrell, and Fraley, the catcher. So, I thought Cade Anderson, battled against a very good lineup. And as you said, you handle that ball, that ground ball at third base, that's a double play probably, and you're out of the inning. At worst, it's the second out of the inning. But instead, you load the bases for Ike Irish, and, he clears the bases with a triple.
And look, Irish and McMurray were great all weekend. When they came up in a big spot, they pumped a double in the gap, hit it off the wall. That's what you need, and it just takes one swing, and all of a sudden you can start to do that. And we saw LSU do it the majority of the season. I'm kind of expecting to see it this week. And I like the Tigers this week. And how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I look at Alabama, and I look at a team that obviously has a very good shortstop, one of the best players in the league, in LeBron. But then you start looking statistically, and you kind of got to look very closely to see, the UA for the University of Alabama in, individual categories as well as, team categories. And I also think, every baseball team wants to get to the bullpen early. I mean, there's obviously a reason teams kind of backload their typical week. So far for Alabama and SEC play, make it throw a pitch Mississippi State in the one win they got against the Bulldogs. So, I think, again, I think it was an outlier offensively, going 4 for 27. And so for that reason, I think they'll be able to get to the bullpen early against Alabama and be able to create pressure. That's the other that out over 27 innings, Hunt. And, you've seen an LSU team this year that's a lot more aggressive, stealing bases. They put the hit and run on. They'll double steal. They'll sacrifice. They'll, pressure on a defense. It's tough, and I think they have the opportunity to do it against Alabama. Yeah, I like the Tigers in all 3 games.
6 o'clock Friday on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, or anywhere you're affiliated. Thanks, man. Have a good weekend.
You got it, man. As Jim Hawthorne the Great always said, TV runs our life, man.
Right. We'll be at the box all weekend long. So, Chris, appreciate a little bit of time here. LSU baseball tonight. If there's a roadmap for tonight, it's really realistic. I'm not painting anything crazy here. Come out and hang some zeros. I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect 2-run baseball tonight. It's over the course of that 6 innings. Should be able to score. Is not an elite Alabama pitching staff to begin to his name in his career. And if you can do that, and you can get it to 7-2 or so, you're not going to throw that many pitches anyway, only threw 50, which was the season high last weekend. You get him out of the game, you're going to force Anderson stealing. They're not going to point. You should be able to separate. And if you can do that, you won't have to use Cowan for Bear the next 2 games with your 2 best bullpen bullets. That's the ideal scenario. Horror picture, too. You go out there and Anderson doesn't really have a Cowan in a 4-4 game in the 4th inning, and then all of a sudden you're struggling. That's of a weekend. The first out there and get it done, and Alabama doesn't have that opportunity. Pitcher, so you're really care of it and win the game. If LSU wins tonight, you can feel pretty good about the rest of the weekend. You lose tonight, so we'll see. There's 15 games to go. But tonight's a big game for LSU. You need to go out there and take care of their business in the ball game tonight. 7 o'clock, first pitch. Chat with Caleb Jackson today. He talked about why he's not got thoughts on where he sits in this running back hierarchy in Baton Rouge. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years. Read it. Whenever I say remodel, you might think, oh, that's a huge project. That stuff can happen, but that's not really what we're talking about here. And to further that point, let's just talk about something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. That's not massively expensive. That's not super invasive. That's not super time-consuming. It's a simple process that can be done if your bathtub is not used, if it's old and dingy, if it's not functional. You take that bathtub out, put in a glass wall. Bathroom adds value to your home. David Vaughn and his team can help you with it every step of the way. They handle everything. You don't call him and then call the guy to handle this part, and this guy handles the floor. And one contractor, one call. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online at onebathandclosets.com. Today, it's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, onebathandclosets.com.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and Sports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the Louisiana Sports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. 45 ESPN Baton Rouge, your home for Louisiana sports.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. Eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Is the extra mile on the border of expected to go further, like vans customized for work or play. You connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. If I had asked most LSU fans to give me one name in January you thought had a real chance to go into the transfer portal, maybe in December, I think a lot of them would have probably said Caleb Jackson. Jackson comes in as a 4-star recruit, really flashes a little bit as a freshman. You all know the highlight from Mississippi State where he trucks the guy, got loose on some kickoff returns as well. Was not a feature part of the offense by any stretch of the imagination 2 years ago in an offense that was high-flying with Jaden Daniels. But he's big, fast, strong, 4-star recruit. Now coming into his sophomore year, that's a guy that should be a big piece to the offense. 50 yards and no touchdowns last year. That, like with Harlem Berry, the number 1 running back in the country, coming in, and Caden Durham as a freshman beating him out. And it's like that's a guy who's going to head elsewhere to play his college football. No. And now the transfer portal is open again. And it hasn't happened yet. And we got a chance to sit down and chat with Caleb Jackson today, the assembled media. And Wilson Alexander from The Advocate.
Clear. The portal's open, but you're not going in?
No, I'm not going in.
That's pretty direct. No, I'm not going in. So we dove a little deeper with Caleb and talked to him about why and talked to him about what his goals are. And the why of it was a really powerful answer. Y'all know his backstory. He's from Baton Rouge, went to Liberty High, and I learned some more about his backstory, and I think you will hear, talking about why he didn't decide to just pick up and go somewhere else.
You know, my parents weren't blessed. My mom has 4 kids, just her by herself. She's the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. She didn't give up. She didn't resort to anything else to take her with a stress. She didn't do all that. She worked to put me in this position where I can finally take care of her and my little siblings and my future family. So That's my role model. My mother, just to not giving up and stuff like that. Because my family is from here, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So having them in my circle at all times is always amazing. Having to be able to go home, talk to my mama, have to talk to my grandma, have to talk to my father, and all that type of stuff. It really sets my head straight, and makes me want to go harder just for them, just so I can do it in my home state. As a kid from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went to school down the street. You know what I'm saying? That played an impact when we wanted to stay here and just keep going.
Look, I don't have a problem with players transferring. If you were an LSU fan that has a significant issue with the transfer portal, it's kind of hard to battle that when you got Burrow, Daniels, and Skeens and White, Angel Reese. Like, it's been pretty good to LSU. So to sit here and say, everybody that transfers, what a quitter, man. Well, you're calling Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels quitter. You think Paul Skeens just quit on the Air Force Academy? I don't think so. But in the same breath, I can very much admire a young person who takes that kind of a stand. Says, look, my mom has busted her tail my whole life to give me opportunity, and she never quit, so I'm not going to quit. And that's an admirable stance, because it's really easy to pick up and do something else. Really easy. Sometimes it's the right thing to do. But when you stick it out, I'm going to give you a little bit of praise. And again, that soundbite where he says, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I want to do it for my home city, my home state, like, that still does matter. I think there are some cynical people that are fans in collegiate athletics that go, it's only Jackson's NIL deals are. But I can tell you that's a guy who just said, like, I want to do it for my home city. I want to do it for my home state. That is still important to a lot of. It's a percentage that absolutely cares about that kind of thing. And Caleb Jackson is obviously that. So for now, the question is not like, are you going to leave? Because he's not. The question is, how do you get better? How do you become an impact back? Josh Williams carries are now. But Caleb Jackson's a little different back. And so we ask you crack into this lineup.
Just to be more of an overall back, better at pass protection first and foremost. Short down and distance, I wanted to be better in that. Not getting denied at the goal line. What else? Be a third down back where I can get out the backfield, catch passes, all that type of stuff. And of course, just run the ball, be explosive, break tackles, and everything, all of the above.
That's a cliche answer, but okay. He understands what he's trying to get better at. And I am not ready to just close the book on Caleb Jackson. I've seen the flashes. You can have qualms with his vision at times, but if LSU can create an offensive line that creates some space and lets him get ahead of steam and lets him get to the second level, I still think he's a big problem for SEC defenses. He told us today that he played last year at 235 pounds. He's now cut that back to his freshman weight of 225. He's back down 10 pounds. I don't think he's lost any of the strength he had, and he said he felt like he could still get up to like he could change directions as quickly at 235. So you drop the 10 pounds. He feels lighter on his feet. He's a more dynamic running back at that weight. Caden Durham's the starter. He deserves the football. He's got great speed. He's got great vision, great instincts, great ability to make people miss. South Carolina game was phenomenal this past. And Harlan Berry's got to touch the ball. In backfield, they're completely opposite. Harlan Berry's 185. He's 40 pounds lighter. If you need somebody to get outside, be real fluid with the football, make a corner. Well positioned to do that. You need a guy to run at a tired defense. You need a guy to hit the hole 1,000 miles an hour at 225 pounds. You need a guy that's the most physical presence you've. All that. And I'm not ruling out another year where he runs for 150 yards. We just saw one. That Caleb Jackson kind of emerges here as a more productive threat than that. I would suggest closer to 400 or 500 yards from 0 touchdowns to 4 or 5. He's not. I don't think he's going to be featured in the offense. I thought that at this time last year. Conference, he's going to be a bell cow back for LSU. I absolutely felt that way. But I also don't feel the way of tell him go to Southeastern. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like there's more to his Wilson, great relationship with Josh Williams, great relationship with Caden Durham. He's got some mentors that are older than him, and I think he's doing it for the right reasons. And I think there's a chance that Caleb Jackson really helps this LSU team moving forward. I thought our conversation with him today was excellent. I'll have a piece in the coming days on Louisiana from Caleb Jackson, but enlightening chat with the junior. You are looking for, what was I about to say? Oh, there we go. That's one of those where you're on live radio and your brain just shuts off for like 3 seconds. Go to Hunt on LSU on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. Find your podcast. It's all football. So if you're just looking for football this time of year, that can be a little bit scarce. Go to Hunt on LSU. You can find our on Saints. It's draft week. I gave my thoughts earlier today on the Saints and what did that, and you can find that at Hunt on Saints as well. So now that my brain is back out the week for us here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG. Insurance, not a lot of fun to talk about. I get it. Did it for 7 years. Can be monotonous, can be detailed. But you need to trust your insurance broker. If in the past you've just tossed out your insurance for bid, taken all the quotes, looked at the lowest premium, I highly recommend you think about doing it another way. Trusting your broker to be part of your organization, giving them the information that they need, and arming them with the tools to go to the marketplace, make sure that your program is placed in the right spot with the right carrier at the right price with the right claims management so that you're well protected when that issue arises, whatever it is. Hurricane, car accident, cyber attack. Your insurance is ready to respond, and the Highland Insurance Group will help you out with that. Jonathan Carbo and his team are phenomenal to work with. Find them at HighlandIG.com. They're based right here in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them at HighlandIG.com.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad. Instead, they cradle. Nicely done, ice cubes.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. Go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972.
for over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone know that you have rights, and it's okay to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground.
This is the Hunt Palmer.
Our Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. I'll put this very, very simply. In Baton Rouge, just 35 minutes up the road in Ethel. Sean Sagrera has got a Thursday. If you love to get on the grill, love steaks, love burgers, just love Sagrera Farms. I know there are probably a lot of you that have gone wherever you usually go to get that beef and you've cooked your never happen when you go to Sagrera Farms because they the best in animals and they get a consistent product. It's incredible. Farms and check it out before you buy it. They'll seal it up, slice it, send it home with you, and you'll have a freezer full. Fillets, ribeyes, strips, flank steaks, ground beef. They sell it by the whole cow or the side. Give Sean a call, 719-1723. Their beef is aged 45 days. Product. It is prime Angus beef. It is Sagrera Farms. Give Sean a call, 719 each and every week. Well, as y'all know, on my Twitter feed, you got a lot of Chicago sports. And caught a marquee sports interview with new Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. Jordan, yes. It's just a beautiful thing. Are you pulling for Dennis in Chicago? There are a lot of Bears fans that want him to bring back the 85 Bears, Monsters of the Midwest. You turned over a new leaf.
You know,
oh my goodness.
I had to go to Dennis Allen rehab. You know, I had to get my mentality back together. Oh, no, multiple times. You know, I'm a habitual. You got to let bygones be bygones. So Dennis is out of my hair, so.
When he leaves?
Oh, no, never. Unless he's like, I'm giving away $2 million to some charity in New Orleans. He gonna have to do something like that. Other than that, no.
How about Mickey Loomis?
No, Mickey better hope. You know, I'm not even gonna say this. It's live radio.
We don't need to cross the line. See where we are on the Saints hierarchy. It appears that those that are still screwing up.
Oh no,
it's those hurt worse than the folks that are not screwing up here anymore. So I'm proud of you for growing up there, Jordan. That's
thank
great.
You, Ron. I had to.
I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Okay.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question.
All right. So we're going to start off with, I guess you could say this is some good. 3 weeks of his deep vein thrombosis. The doctors told Bucs officials the speed of Lillard's recovery has never. Dedication specialist, blah, blah, blah. Is Damian Lillard a superhuman? Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it, but he's a young guy in really good shape, and he's got the best doctors that exist. So that combination generally leads to some pretty good stuff medically. So we've seen a lot of pro athletes they can handle. So I'm thrilled. It's just a more interesting playoffs when he's playing. So shout out to him.
Never been seen. A little fun. So Aaron Rodgers, the man himself, isn't thrilled by the way, I guess, how his Jets tenure ended.
Okay.
The veteran quarterback appeared on Pat McAfee's show today. It didn't. It's real good. Listen, that was an interesting 2 years to say the least. I figured when I flew across the country on my dime, there would be a conversation. The confusing thing to me is I went there to meet with the coach. We start talking. He runs him, and I'm like, all right. So we sit down and to think we're going to have a long conversation. And 20 seconds go, Glenn goes, "You sure you want to play football?" We're going in a different direction. Do you feel like Aaron Rodgers did he deserve that disrespect?
I mean, no, I'll leave it. He doesn't deserve that disrespect. I just don't believe that story happened. I don't believe that a Hall of Fame quarterback flew play football, and he said yes. How that conversation went. I think Aaron from a different cloth. And like he's holding any organization hostage. Like contract that start pouting and demanding trades and hold, like that's the kind of stuff that, and I don't feel like a lot of Jets fans are clamoring to get him back. I think they're ready to move on. It's it feels like Aaron Rodgers is going to play for Pittsburgh, but I would be surprised 0 because his body is not what it was. You're going to things can go wrong, and this is kind of like the Maneri thing that we had earlier today where I was talking about. It's like Paul Maneri doesn't need to coach college baseball anymore. He can do it if he wants to. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to play NFL quarterback anymore. He can if he wants to, but he doesn't need to do that. And now that he's not under contract, it's like, whatever. Do whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. So
yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Rodgers, like you said, retires and then it's like, yeah, I'm running for president. Stephen, look, that would be his vice president. Aaron Rodgers and Stephen A. That's the go-to.
I don't talk a lot of politics on this show. I don't think they're going to get my vote. The Stephen A. Aaron Rodgers ticket, that one might be tough for me to. I don't know who's running against him, so I can't promise you where my vote's going to go, but I don't feel like that's going to be right where I am.
Well, what if it was Stephen A. versus Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, at this point, that's not even crazy. That's not even crazy. Anybody can run for president. Yeah. You know who's to blame for this? Yeah. Schwarzenegger. He runs for governor of California, and then all of a sudden, well, anybody can do anything.
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do anything. So that's where we are, and I guess that's where we'll leave it here on this Thursday. We are taking the day off as a station, except Jordan. He's got to work because Live at Lunch will do their show from Rapino's tomorrow from 11 to 1. But everybody else will be off tomorrow on Good Friday, and then I'm going to be out next week. Taylor will be in my chair, and so he'll pilot it. I'm planning on hopping on the show remotely on Friday to talk a little LSU and Tennessee baseball. I will be coming back on Friday, actually a day early from the beach trip because I want to go cover that series of Tigers and Vols. So by the time I come back, theoretically, in this chair, LSU is going to have played 6 SEC games at home, and we'll have a really different conversation than the one we're having right now. But as I've told you for the last 2 hours, like this is a big weekend for LSU, as they're all going to be. And tonight's a big game for LSU. It's kind of on the less end of that spectrum for Alabama tonight because they're pitching off against an ace on the road against a top 15, top 10 team. But it's just one of those huge advantage tonight that shrinks. Hope they do that. The Saints will also make their draft pick next week. Find your sound, just search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. That always helps us get our content in front of as many folks as we possibly can. We appreciate y'all's help with all of that. I opened the show today with just a little bit of conversation about LSU and Alabama. Then I went through the on Saints. Joe Healy previewed the SEC. some LSU football. Chris Blair on baseball. He'll be on the call tonight. And then we chatted about Caleb Jackson in our conversation today. If you missed any of it, wherever you find your sound, go. This evening, I'm out of here. I'll watch some baseball tonight, and we are leaving on Saturday. So hope Taylor has a great week. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why surgeon Dr. James Andrews